We've been involved with National Public Lands Day and the National Environmental Education Foundation for 21 years.
Welcome to the National Wildlife Federation Outdoors Podcast. I'm your host, Drew Youngdyke, and I'm here at the Association of Great Lakes Outdoors Writers annual meeting in La Crosse, Wisconsin with Curt McAllister from Toyota. Curt actually helped bring me into this organization through a scholarship that Toyota sponsors to bring new and emerging outdoor writers into organizations like this that help us spread our message and hone our craft. And Toyota also sponsors Public Lands Day. And so I really wanted to talk to him about Toyota's sponsorship both of Public Lands Day and of outdoor journalism in general. Curt, could you tell us a little bit about you, your role with Toyota, and your role in the outdoors?
Sure. So I am the Midwest Public Relations Manager. So I am in charge of a 14-state region, which essentially is the Great Lakes and the Heartland states, not only for Toyota, but also the Lexus brand. So I handle media relations, public relations, but I also have a second hat, which is I have responsibility for outdoor communications. And that encompasses literally 13 different outdoor press guilds around the country. I inherited that about 9 years ago. And again, it's dealing with the hooks and bullets media is a little bit different than dealing with the traditional auto press. But at the same time, they're journalists and they're looking for all the information about what we're doing, not only on the vehicle side, but also the environmental side.
And I want to talk a little bit about the Aglow Let's Go Places scholarship that you also sponsor now for many other outdoor writers organizations. And I want to speak to it as one of the first recipients of it. What it did for me as an outdoor communicator, and now I work for National Wildlife Federation, but it allowed me to come check out this conference, to meet these people, to meet these outdoor journalists. What that allows me now to do is to promote the message of conservation throughout outdoor media. And without this connection, I'm here at the conference for National Wildlife Federation now, talking to outdoor journalists about the details behind the effort to stop Asian carp. We're promoting the message of getting the word out to hunters and anglers to voluntarily use non-lead hunting ammunition as fishing tackle. And so without Toyota's scholarship, I would not have access to this group to be able to get that message out there to people who can help move these issues to where they need to be.
Right. Yeah, you're a great example of why we developed this program. So the impetus was about 5 or 6 years ago. The executive board for Aglow, we were just sitting around and kind of lamenting the fact that the median age of their group was getting a little bit north of 65. And what do we do about that? And so we talked about creating a scholarship program that brought young up-and-comers into the organization, expose them to not only this sort of medium, but also to all these great potential mentors. And in the 6 years since we started this program, as you mentioned, we've actually now spread it across to at least 6 other different outdoor groups. And we just eclipsed the 40 mark in terms of scholarships presented across the board. And, it's kind of blossomed in that the whole idea was to bring young people in to kind of learn from all these masters of the outdoors. But conversely, what's happened is these young people have come in with a lot of social media knowledge. And so they've turned to a lot of our seasoned members and say, hey, listen, this is how you use social media channels to expand your own brands, because as we know, a lot of mass media is consolidating, shrinking in this country. So a lot of these gentlemen and ladies who are so used to being magazine writers have now got to find different outlets, and they're finding those channels of exposure through social media.
Well, and I think what we're on right now, the National Wildlife Federation Outdoors Podcast, last year was the first year that podcast had its own award as a separate medium. And not too shy to say, I swept those last year, but I think I was the only one to submit too. But now this year, we have a lot of competition. We have the Woman Angler podcast, swept first place. I got a couple thirds and a second for this podcast. Brandon Butler, who used to be with the Conservation Federation of Missouri, got some for his podcast as well. So we've already seen now and Angie, who's one of the co-hosts of the Woman Angler podcast, was a recipient last year, I think, right?
Yep.
So now you have new outdoor communicators coming in, and what they're doing with that podcast is really great as far as diversifying the participation in the outdoors and providing a voice to that. And that's something that the Aglow Scholarship has helped out. And this year, actually, you have Brian Bashore as one of the recipients. And I actually know Brian because he's on our board of the National Wildlife Federation. So I like seeing him there too. So it's been a tremendous way to hone the craft, to expand the opportunities for writers, but also to advance the state of outdoor communication.
Absolutely. One of the benefits we've seen too, and I really give a lot of credence to organizations like Aglow, in that their recipients are very diverse. So aside from Brian Bashore this year, we've got Christine Fisher, we've got Nicole Stone, and both these young ladies they've already made their mark in the industry. And I think you're seeing this new breed of female outdoor enthusiast who's not afraid to get out there and say, I love the outdoors, and it doesn't make me ungirly, it just makes me well-rounded. And so, to see the diversity across the board helps the organizations and it makes them stronger.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to that today, and of course, by the time this airs, that will have already taken place. But there's something else that Toyota's been promoting as well, and that's National Public Lands Day.
Right.
I really appreciate that because actually our office car that we have for the office is a hybrid Toyota Camry. Gets great gas mileage. Of course, that wasn't going to fit all of the hunting and fishing gear that that I have up here. I'm actually, as part of this tour, we're filming a project called the Northwoods Unleaded film, and I'm on kind of the road trip for that. So I've got shotguns for upland bird hunting, I've got fly rods, I've got coolers, you name it. And that wasn't going to fit in there. So I'm actually driving around a Toyota Land Cruiser, and it's taken me from Ann Arbor through to Wisconsin, here to La Crosse. Yesterday I went out with a couple other outdoor writer buddies, and we went up into the driftless region of Minnesota and fly fish and caught some brown trout with tungsten beadheads, non-lead of course. And we did that through actually a public access program that Minnesota has. And it's private land, but they open up public access through easements through that program. And it was such just beautiful water. Being able to catch those fish, we wouldn't have that without that sort of public access that Toyota promotes. How do you see public access and public land as supporting the outdoors, or even supporting your brand as Toyota? What drove Toyota to get involved with that effort?
So we've been involved with National Public Lands Day and the National Environmental Education Foundation for 21 years. And strangely enough, it came out at about the same time our first generation Prius came out. And so, Toyota's has always been a fan and really friendly towards the environment. I mean, there's a lot of companies who talk the talk, but we think that we walk the walk. And for us, it's just more about getting citizenship. And again, we have a firm belief too that yes, Toyota is a Japanese-based car company, but wherever you pitch your tent, you should be ingrained in that community and in that state. And so the employees here, the 36,000 direct employees here in the United States, have always kind of taken that to heart. So over the 21 years of our relationship with NPLD, we've had tens of thousands of volunteers. In fact, there was a statistic provided to us that in terms of employee time and resources over those 2 decades, it would equate to about $5 million. This year, in fact, we have 2,400 colleagues signed up to work 37 different sites in 18 different states and Puerto Rico, which of course is still reeling from the hurricane. So again, it's all about giving back. It's all about being part of that natural community, and I look forward to hearing more about the stories that are coming out of NPLD on September 28th.
I apologize for that. That was a phone call from actually one of my friends from the Upper Peninsula, from past president of Michigan United Conservation Clubs, who's coming out to our be in the film of Northwoods Unleaded. Probably calling to get directions. So.
No worries.
But we'll be hunting on public land.
Yes.
That we'll be accessing with that Toyota Land Cruiser.
Yeah.
You know, that public land day initiative that you have. When is that this year, and how can people get involved with that?
Yeah, so it's September 28th. And again, if you go to the National Education Environmental Foundation website, they can kind of steer you towards some of those sites. I know a lot. Looking at their list, I mentioned 18 different states, but they're doing everything from picking up trash to helping dredge some rivers, to walking along the beach and just picking up refuse. So it's task big and small, but at the end of the day, it's all about cleaning up our environment and just showing a lot of love towards our parks and our park system. So again, I'm looking forward to hearing some of those success stories in the weeks to come.
Well, that's great. I really appreciate Toyota's support for outdoor riders because it brought me here. Really appreciate the ride and the Toyota Land Cruiser. Where can people find more information about Toyota vehicles that they can use for hunting and fishing efforts like this? Sure.
So you could go to toyota.com, or actually I'd steer people towards toyotanewsroom.com. It's actually, even though it's our media site, but it's also public access. So they can actually pull down not only information, but a lot of visuals about our products, be them cars, trucks, or SUVs. It's funny, you mentioned the Land Cruiser. I was really happy that you were able to get into that. That's one of those really iconic vehicles that we have. It's been around for 60 plus years. And, it's not only as iconic here in the States, but across the world. I mean, when there's tough terrains to traverse, in Africa or the Middle East, people choose Land Cruiser.
Yeah. Or the driftless region.
Yep. But, it's, actually had a really cool thing happen last year in assignment. I actually got called by a paleontologist, and they had discovered a whole trove of dinosaur bones in northern Wyoming. And he knew about the legacy. He knew about the reputation of Toyota's particular Land Cruiser. So we actually loaned them a couple Land Cruisers, a couple Tundras, and they pulled dinosaur bones out of northern Wyoming.
Oh, wow.
To be now to be assembled and then eventually incorporated in the Children's Museum of Indianapolis. But so those are the kind of cool things that here was essentially a dinosaur digger who was a big Jurassic Park fan that said, hey, I know what my support vehicles need to be, and I'm going to look at a Land Cruiser.
Well, that's great. Thank you so much for joining the podcast, Curt. Appreciate what Toyota's doing for outdoor journalism as well as for our public lands.
Actually, thank you, Drew, and congratulations on being an alumnus of our scholarship program.
Thank you. And as always, the National Wildlife Federation podcast is supported by Rep Your Water and their 3% for conservation commitment.